So, using the same set of coins that we were looking at before that are all low grade, common date, nothing too valuable, or even things that are valuable, it's all just bullion, but otherwise lower grade, common date. So that the nice thing is you can handle these coins like actual coins rather than like some valuable thing you have to keep locked away where you can only look at it through glass or plastic. So I'm kind of starting rather arbitrarily at 1840, although these denominations each have their own history. The half cent, however, for example, first came out in 1793, but it acquired this particular design in 1840. The cent, which at this point is a large cent, also came out in 1793 and acquired this image in 1839. The half dime, a small silver coin, acquired the seated liberty in 1837. It first came out in 1794, not counting some 1792 half dimes and so forth, but that's kind of an oddball thing. But 1794. But the seated liberty design got its start in 1837. I'm not getting into variations such as stars, no stars, drapery, no drapery, various mottos and expressions like United States of America or Pluribus Unum or In God We Trust, getting moved about from one part of a coin to another, and other such minor variations. I may mention them, but I'm not going to use distinct coins. Okay, and we had a dime, and that, of course, also got its start in 1796. And again, in 1837, it got the seated liberty design. The 25 cent was also first made in 1796, but acquired the seated liberty design in 1738. And the half dollar was first made in 1794 and acquired the seated liberty in 1839. And finally, the dollar was first made in 1794. Acquired this part of the design in some very well-known patterns dated 1836, but it didn't become the full form of this till 1840. So we're starting in 1840. There's also the $2.50, which acquired this coronet design. It was first made in 1796, but acquired the coronet design we see here in 1840. The $5, which was also from 1795, original as a denomination, but acquired this coronet design in 1839. And finally, the $10, which again originally dates from 1795 as a denomination, but acquired this coronet design in 1838. So 1840, this is our set of coins, and we could just take a quick look at all of these. So this is the half cent. Okay, this is the 1 cent. Okay, the half dime. Okay, the 1 dime. What's kind of nice is how all these coins kind of matched in their design. All the copper coins have the coronet design. All the silver coins have the seated liberty design. The gold coins again revert to the coronet design. It's almost like a kind of humility that they could have the same general look as a copper coin. It doesn't have to pretend anything special or fancy. So they also nicely match. All the different types just match, or at least consistent with each other. One other interesting oddball consistency here that's I think is particularly interesting is that the larger silver denominations and the gold denominations have surprisingly similar eagles. They all have, well, let's see, the dime didn't. Okay, yeah. They all have an eagle with a badge on its chest, arrows in one claw, and olive leaves in the other. And its head kind of leaning way off to the side like that. The only difference being on the gold coins, the wings are spread out, whereas on the silver coin, the wings are still lowered as if it's not yet quite ready to take flight or just about to, whereas here he's ready to start flapping and flying. So it's a slightly different pose, but very wonderfully consistent among that. So it was a very nice consistency of all this. All these coins were made proportionate weight in terms of what gold, silver, and even for that matter copper were worth at that point in time. Needless to say, one of the problems with this sort of thing is that the values of various metals will tend to fluctuate differently, and making it very difficult for coins of whichever one is a little bit higher priced in proportion to its face to stay in circulation. So, and this is how the coins, these are the coins we had in 1840 and everything up through 1848. This was our set of coins. Starting in 1849, however, we introduce another variety of dollar. So now the dollar exists as this tiny gold coin, as well as the big silver dollar. I'll put them together because they really represent the same denomination, but in two different forms. And meanwhile, the other denominations, I'll make a little more room for everything. Okay, so that was kind of a big introduction. And by the way, the back of the gold dollar has its own unique reverse. Okay, now a bigger introduction took place in 1850, although the $20 gold is often listed in the Red Book going back to 1849. It's quite clear that the one struck in 1849 was only a pattern. It sits at the Smithsonian. It is not a meaningful circulating coin. Starting in 1850, and again, I'm just going by types, ignore the dates actually on these coins. But by 1850, this design is introduced, which interestingly enough matches the $1 gold in overall design and concept. Okay, well, at this point though, every coin, like I said, this is twice as much gold by weight, same percentage, 90% gold, 10% copper, etc. 10%, this would be half, this would be a quarter, half of this would be an eighth of this, and then this would actually be a 20th of that. So you have these different proportions, but they're all proportionate by weight. And again, the silver dollar has a fairly substantial amount of silver. The half dollar is half of that. The quarter is a quarter of that. The dime is a tenth of it. The half dime is a 20th of it. And again, even the cents, the copper cent has an amount of copper in it, which is exactly double the amount of copper in a half cent. Now, next thing to happen here is the introduction of the very first subsidiary coin, the silver 3-cent piece. So there it is, which was distinctive because now it had a lower weight than, well, actually that shouldn't have gone here, that should go here. Okay. So it had a lower weight in silver, slightly, than the face value. So that's about 85% of 3 cents worth of silver. Enough that it will have value no matter what else happens to American coinage, but not so much that it's profitable in any way whatsoever to melt it down for the silver. It just can't be worth it. So that was 1851, and they circulated very freely because up until this point, these coins being matched by weight to their intended values were really almost more like bullion coins. There was no meaningful distinction. A coin was just a way of marking out you got so much gold or silver or copper, and you exchange it. But you also gave it values that related one to another. You 10 pennies to a dime and so forth, and 10 dimes to a dollar would be okay because that's all silver, or $10 to the gold eagle, which again can vary by the different prices of silver to gold, or even for that matter, copper to silver or copper to gold. Okay, so they often didn't circulate very well, and of course in those old days there'd be a lot of other coins circulating, foreign coins and so forth. However, this was a very good experiment, this 3-cent subsidiary coin. It could circulate. people would take it because it had enough silver. You weren't afraid it would drop down to zero, but it had a little bit more face value. So that was a major production. So 1854, several things happen here. First of all, a larger diameter gold dollar is introduced, and we'll take a look at that. And it had its denomination on the back. Same basic idea. It's just now it's, you know, a bit wider but a little bit thinner. Okay, and then something new is introduced, and that would be the gold $3 piece. It's not clear why that was introduced exactly, but there it is. And the gold $3 piece, of course, pretty much matches the new design for the $1 with the larger diameter. So they're pretty consistent in many ways. Also in 1854, the half dime, quarter, and half dollar, one and all, acquired a slight reduction in weight and arrows around the date, plus rays on the quarter and half dollar to mark these coins as having dropped their weight a small fraction. So now they too are subsidiary coins. The 3 cent was also adjusted now to be proportionate to the subsidiary weights of the other minor coins. Only the silver dollar was left alone at its original dollar's worth of silver. The idea is this was more of a treasury coin, or, you know, again, more of a bullion coin than a circulating coin. So that was a big thing. Well, the arrows, the rays go away the next year, and the arrows another year or two after that. But again, I'm not drilling into those kinds of details for this. I'm just using basic type coins. Now, the next year, in 1855, all that happens is now there are no more small gold coins being made. There's only the slightly larger diameter gold $1. So 1855, this would have been your set of coins to work with. And that continues 1856. Now, in 1857, we start doing important things with the 1 cent piece. A new coin is introduced, the Flying Eagle cent. And again, there he is. Boy, that thing's beat up, but look at that. That is a Flying Eagle cent, 1858. And you can actually see the design, not too bad. Again, anything better than that, I wouldn't want to handle it because it'd be too damn valuable. But at any rate, now you had both that kind of cent and a large cent circulating, made in 1857. However, in the middle of 1857, basically, this is stopped, this is stopped, this is introduced. And also with 1857, the idea was now that subsidiary coins were circulating very successfully already. It now made sense to make the cent into also a kind of subsidiary coin, so they could shrink it. They introduced some nickel, which is more valuable than copper, always has been, but still mostly copper. And they were doing away with these. Well, 1858, of course, these are, the large cent is history, the half cent is history. The ability to use other foreign currencies or monies for money is now, the Spanish mill dollar and other various coins are now no longer possible. But also for 1858, we move to the next design of the cent. So that becomes now the Indian head cent, still made out of nickel and copper, 12% nickel, the rest is copper. So that kind of kept the value close to, but under a cent, so that too is a subsidiary coin. Now, things continue along for a few years. Let's see, 1859. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, 1859. Yeah, that's where the Indian head is introduced. Okay, 1860. Well, this set of coins continues during most of the Civil War, but in 1864, as the need for copper arose and the need for nickel arose, they finally decided to replace this fairly expensive nickel cent with just a simpler copper cent. Now 95% copper, 5% tin and zinc. And then they also introduced, alongside that, a 2 cent piece. So here's our 2 cent piece, which was pretty cool. It was the first to say, "In God We Trust." And it had kind of a basic design. There, I didn't show the back of the Indian heads here. The 1859 had a different reverse. This is just a type coin, and I won't show that. And then there's the copper. There's a slight variation on the copper where the feathers end. I'm not going to show that variation either, so that's just how that is. Okay, so 1864 was pretty neat to introduce all of that. And of course, in 1865, the nickel is no longer being made and so forth. However, something new was being introduced in 1865, and that is a nickel 3-cent piece. By this point, the silver 3-cent piece has pretty much disappeared from being a circulating coin, but they're still being made, so they still officially exist. And meanwhile, these other denominations continue right along. And then in 1866, we do the same thing with the 5-cent nickel. We now introduce a shield design, kind of similar to the 2-cent, really. But it's a 5-cent. There's very beat up, 1883, but there it is. It had rays originally, then they went away the next year. So now you have the nickel appearing in 5 cents as two different kinds. In this case, however, both silver and nickel circulated side by side for a period of time. Okay, but these continue along, otherwise unchanged. Well, that's where we are until 1873. Well, there's a lot of stuff happening in 1873. A lot of things will be done away with in the middle of that year. A trade dollar is introduced. However, these were all made in 1873, at least the first part of 1873. But by 1874, the 2-cent piece is gone. The silver 3-cent piece is gone. The silver half dime is gone. The silver dollar, as just a regular dollar, is gone. Though there is, of course, the trade dollar, but I'm not going to show the trade dollar. That's not exactly normal American commerce anyway. So this is our set of coins for 1874 and 1875. Now something else interesting is introduced, and that is, the dollar is still represented by a gold coin, half dollar, the 20 cent, and now we insert something new, a 20-cent piece. It was a very brief experiment. There it is. It has its own distinctive reverse. It's kind of interesting how it looks kind of similar, but if you look at the two side by side, it is obvious that the bird is looking the other way. Also, the 20 cent doesn't have a shield. It says 20 cents. It has a smooth edge, so you won't confuse it with the reeded edge 25-cent piece. And but the front design, again, matches the old half dime, the regular 25 cent, the regular 50 cent, and the old dollar that's now no longer made. So it still has that same design. Now in 1878, the trade dollar kind of starts disappearing, and a regular silver dollar takes its place. The Morgan dollar. Let's see if we can see that thing. There we go. That looks better. All right, and it's got his distinctive reverse, of course. So finally, the Morgan dollar replaces that. By this point, the 20-cent piece barely exists as just proofs. Indeed, in 1879, it's just gone, and we don't see that again. So that was the end. Now, this was our coinage. So 1879, 1880, 81, 82. Now in 1883. We introduce a new nickel design. Now, if you look closely, the two nickels are very slightly different in size. The older one was a slightly smaller diameter and therefore correspondingly thicker. The alloy, the weight remain the same. It's just a little bit more width is given at the expense of diameter, or a little bit diameter is given at the expense of thickness. But both kinds are made in 1883, so I can put them both there. We have 3-cent nickel is still going. The Indian head cent is still going. the dime, quarter, half dollar, and of course now the dollar, both his Morgan and his gold dollar. And the gold and the standard gold denominations are all still continuing right along. Well, obviously 1884, no more shield nickels. That's over with. Our nickels are now the Liberty Head design. Now we get up to, by the way, in 1884, the trade dollar officially ends. I'm not going to count the handful of samples unofficially made in 1884 and 1885. As far as I'm concerned, the 1883 trade dollar officially ended that coin. I'm just making the note. Now for 1890, well, a lot of stuff happened here. We took away 3 different things. We took away the gold dollar. No longer. We took away the $3 gold. Now the denomination will never be seen again. We also took away the 3-cent nickel. All 3 of those disappeared for 1890. So now that that's gone, our remaining coinage for 1890 then is the ones you see here now. This is our coinage for 1890. Oh, did I ever show the back of this? There. Looks really nice. All right. Very distinctive too. Here's the Liberty Head nickel. Oh, by the way, okay, the front. I'm sorry, I don't have a better one. And he's got his back. Yeah, there's a little change in the beginning where they forgot to say cents on there, and people could dye it gold. So they had to put cents on it, so you wouldn't think it was $5. The Indian head cent continues unchanged. However, now the very next year, 1890. Well, it's 1890 and 1891. So 1892, of course, is a big year. We're changing a lot of stuff. We have a new looking dime. We have a new looking quarter. And we have a new looking half dollar. And these are, of course, the famous Barber designs. So let's take a look here. The dime there. Rather simple design, kind of basic here. Now the quarter is kind of a nice eagle on it. Okay. And then the half dollar. So they kind of match the Morgan dollar a little bit better, even though they're not Morgans but Barbers, but that's okay. So there's our coinage for 1892. Now, interestingly enough, things stay this way clear to the end of the century. This is our coinage. So let's continue the next part as we come into the 20th century.